and welcome to yet another edition of Ben's Junk, the show that always rises to the occasion. It just takes a while sometimes. And speaking of taking a while, nice convenient segue here, I've been wanting to upgrade my old CED capacitance electronic disc player for quite some time now. And the one I had, which if you've seen the episode I did on CEDs, you've already seen a rundown of that particular unit. I've had that thing since well before I started making Oddity Archive, but it's just reached a point, especially in the last year or so, where it was just really annoying me with the absolute lack of features that the old one had. The old one was just the walking, talking definition of bottom of the line. So we're not just talking being stuck with mono sound and no remote control, but we're also talking lacking some pretty basic features like rewind. So again, it just crawled up my butt to a point where I had to upgrade what I had. But anyway, late last year, I found this sucker on eBay and paid way too much for it. I don't think I'm going to admit what I paid for it, especially given my reputation for being more of a thrift store scavenger. But I guess this is a measure of just how much it crawled up my butt. And anyway, this is an RCA, like most of these things that were ever made. And it's an SGT 250. It was made in the fall of 1983. And I actually have the manual for this thing. And inside the manual is somebody wrote down where they purchased it, what the date was, and everything. If I find it while I'm still making this, I might have to put it in. But they bought it evidently as a Christmas present because it was dated December 23rd, 1983. So, cool little bit of history to have. But anyway, the whole reason, of course, to get this was so I could have stereo sound and rewind and a remote, stuff that we really, truly take for granted these days. But anyway, it's not completely without its quirks. So if you saw the CED episode of Archive, you know that it had a... and I've still got it. I'm not throwing it out or anything. But the old one had a very odd loading mechanism. And you had to push it in just right and kind of shove it in until you'd hear a click and then take the caddy back out and then the disc would drop down. And again, if you don't understand this, please go watch the CED episode of Archive or Tech Moan's episode on CEDs. He did a good job with it too. Maybe even a little better than I did. But anyway, this does have a couple of very minor quirks. One, it squeaks a bit, and I just haven't quite figured out what needs lubing, because I think that's really all it is, because otherwise everything works great. And the loading on this, the slot that you stick the CED caddy into is very narrow, and there is no give as to, putting it in at any kind of angle, so it has to be perfectly flat going in. But I guess that's a pretty small price to pay for such a big leap for something like this. And, of course, it's all relative. I mean, this is still very, very low-tech stuff, isn't it? But anyway, this particular unit, unfortunately, a couple of problems. The post office did a really rotten job of handling this thing, and this wasn't the seller's fault. I bought it on eBay. And the seller did a great job of packing it. I can't fault the seller, but the post office did such a crappy job, or whoever it was, UPS or whoever, I forget. They did a rotten job of handling it, and a bunch of the plastic on the underside of this silver here out of the shot had broken off in several pieces in transit, and I had to kind of reconstruct the shards into one big shard and then reaffix it to the player. So that happened. And also, alas, no remote control with this one. It can, and this is where I would have to give my little shout out to Tom over at cedmagic.com, because he and some of the people that hang out over there, I don't know where they got the remotes and the time, but they made a list of universal remotes, aftermarket universal remotes, unfortunately all discontinued ones now, but a list of remotes that you can program to use with these later remote enabled CED players. But the nice part is that the remotes, even though they don't make them anymore, you can find them on eBay fairly cheap. I mean, the one I got for this, I got for under $10, and it was still new in the box and everything. But anyway, so the one I settled on was this Radio Shack 151918, I believe, remote, and it lights up. But I was able to use the RCA Laserdisc remote code from when RCA made their precious few Laserdisc players years later, and used it with this. So obviously RCA just carried over the same remote codes from CED to Laserdisc. And so, I'd love one of the original remotes, but when they turn up on eBay at all, they tend to fetch in upwards of $100, which I think is just ridiculous. And this is coming from somebody, who again paid way too much for this. But, if I find one someday, an original remote, and the price is right, I'll pick it up. But, yeah, it was just, it seemed like a really, really stupid expenditure on my part. But anyway, let's take a cut here. We'll take a quick look at the back of this thing, and then we'll try and get in as much of a demo as I think I can get away with this thing. All right, so let's take just a quick look at the back here. There's really nothing special about it. If you remember the CED episode and the previous CED player that I had/have, you know that you could use it as a pass-through with the RF. And then way deep down in there, we got our composite outputs. And then also, I thought it was a little odd that there was a stereo switch on the back instead of the front. I think it would be a little more useful on the front, but whatever. I don't really plan on playing with it too much. I mean, I'd have to find one of those really, really rare discs where, that would have two separate audio tracks on it or something like that. So nothing too special. But anyway, I did find the manual, and I'm going to try and show this to you as best as I can. I hope the camera picks it up. But if you look there, hopefully the camera can pick up that handwriting. But you can see that this was purchased on December 23rd, 1983, as I said, and delivered that day, and bought from some place called Kingswood TV in Orlando, Florida. And it's kind of got all the stuff with it. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. Again, not much to show you back here, but that's not really what we're here for, is it? Let's hook this up and let's do some testing. Alright, we're all hooked up. Let's give this a shot. Now, with this unit, as opposed to the previous one, this one, you turn it on, it flashes the letter L at you for load. But on the other one, when I am ready to take the disc out, it flashes UL for unload. But this one just starts flashing L again, and it seems to be by design. So I thought that was a little quirky, especially given that this is a higher end model. But anyway, let's do this. And I love not being at the mercy of a load system in there. I just like being able to stick it in and pull it right back out instead of, as I said, maybe it'll take the disc, maybe not. But anyway, we got picture. Let's get some sound here. So there's the rapid scan forward, rapid rewind, and then of course you can do VCR styled rewind and fast forward. So lovely. Let's take this disc back out. Lovely. Got the disc and everything. Alright, well, that's just about it for this edition of Ben's Junk. I'll leave you with some direct feed footage from this so you can really see and hear what it's like properly. Granted, again, very small portions. I apologize for that, but it's the best I can do. Anyway, that's it for this edition of Ben's Junk. I'll see you again soon.